Not much, not much. Thank you for taking the time to get on the call. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
Cool. So,
Well, are you like, is this being recorded now? Like, how does it work?
So, I record it right now, and then it doesn't stream out live or anything. And then I have somebody edit it, chop it up, and make it sound pretty much.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. I feel a lot better.
What do you mean?
No, it's when I did the one for Nicole, she didn't tell me anything. She was just like, okay, we're live. I'm like, what? Like, but
Yeah.
that is. So I didn't know whether he was going to live or whatever, but
Yeah.
But okay, I'm ready. So.
Yeah. It's funny because the editor that I work with is actually in Philadelphia. And it's so crazy. Like, it seems like Philadelphia is like the new hotspot. Everybody is out there doing big things in Philly.
And you mean like just in real estate or just in general?
Well, real estate, business. I didn't know that it was that active out there just for like Black entrepreneurship, Black kind of success, period. So it's kind of cool. Everybody's in Philly, man. Now that I think
I mean, it's not as right. I mean, I think what it comes down to is that we're just now starting to catch up with the New Yorks and Atlantas of the world, where a lot of, especially African Americans, are just now starting to venture into the entrepreneurship world. And people are taking control of their lives, and they're taking control of their futures now. And Philly is really doing it up. And the thing about it is that Philly is not a big town as people think it is. So it's guys in Philly that you may think they're doing it big, but if we were like in New York, it'd be like regular business, right? So it's an easy town to kind of make a name for yourself.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it is. It's good, So you can definitely start a business in Philly and be the man, whether it's restaurant, bar, real estate, whatever, because it's not as much competition as you will go as you will see in New York. Now I know in real estate, what a lot of our issue is in real estate is that now our money our money levels are different now. So like when I first got into real estate, when I first moved back to Philly, it wasn't a lot of, it was like people who were kind of doing it for forever. And, it was some new investors, but they were dealing with regular money. And now what you're starting to see is a lot of these developers move into the city, but they have like, they're bringing in New York money. They're bringing in LA money. DC money is coming into the city now. And now it's a little bit harder to compete if you don't have, a law firm of, 5 lawyers just out in, LA backing you with these transactions, because they can pay a lot more for a lot of stuff because that money is a lot less. So that's what's going on, like on the real estate front as far as those type of things. So
interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, we're not even really focused. We're actually buying homes in the Midwest right now. So we're buying in Michigan and Cleveland, just because you can get so much value for your buck. Yep. Right.
Well, I mean, essentially, you are a walking product of what I just said. Like, you're going into these other communities and leveraging your own access to purchase these properties, and it's and like that's what you get. So for like guys like myself who don't have those connects to LA or haven't established them yet, or New York or Atlanta or whatever, it's a little bit different. But I think that's a good thing. That's one thing. One thing that when we start to expand, we're going to expand down in Virginia. That's where I spent the large part of my life at. And I just want another excuse to go back down with Virginia and kind of hang out, But it's a great real estate market there in the 757 area, that in Hampton, Newport News, Chesapeake, and stuff like that. It's a great real estate market because of the influx of military personnel, student rentals as well, and you get a lot of teachers, a lot of colleges in that little small area, so you get a lot of good income earning home buyers in that area too. So when we decided to expand, that's where one of the first stops that we're going to be making. So
very cool. I'm gonna kick off the intro, and then I'm just gonna get right into the conversation. And so we'll kind of walk through how you got started, all that good stuff. All right.
You say how I got started and everything?
Yep. So this is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast. This is episode number 53. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire. I'm the founder and the director of the Todd Capital Investment Club. We have over 185 members doing big things. Also the founder of Todd Acquisitions, in escrow for property number 2. Already in the process of acquiring property number 3. And then we're looking to level up and scale at property number 4. We're trying to go 8 units or 16 units. We're going big next time. So we want you to be a part of it. Contact us at info@CapitalTodd to sign up. We're looking forward to working with you. You guys all know that the purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American investors and business owners so that people can see and hear the examples of people who have already done it, so that you guys can know that business and investing are the keys to true financial success and generational wealth in America. With us today, we have Michael Earley. He is a graduate of the Indiana University of Pennsylvania. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity and a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He is the owner of Philadelphia's premier real estate company, Royal Realty Group, which is a full-service realty development and investment company that provides home buying, selling services, as well as other investments and property management services to the tri-state area. So with that, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit how you got started in real estate?
Okay. Well, yeah, I got started in real estate. I was actually, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was looking for something to kind of do in my life. And I was actually a financial planner at the time, but I wasn't real good at it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't real good at it. It's kind of difficult for a 21-year-old, 22-year-old to kind of tell somebody that's nearing retirement, what to do with their retirement money, when I essentially had no money in the bank at all at that point in time. Being broke and kind of desperate at this time, a lot of people in the Virginia area was kind of getting into real estate, and I was kind of looking at it from the outside. And a lot of the people in my firm had clients that were, liquidating their 401ks, Roth IRAs, and things like that to buy properties as well. So a little short story. One day I was actually on my lunch break, and I was sitting in my car. I didn't have gas money or food to go eat lunch. I was just sitting in my car, and a young lady pulled up next to me in a Bentley GT. I think it was the first year they actually was launched. And I was so amazed by this car. We kind of met up in an elevator going up into my office building, and I stopped and asked her. I said, "Hey, that's a really nice car that you have." She said, "Thank you. My husband brought it for me for Valentine's Day." And I said, "Wait a minute now. He bought you a Bentley for Valentine's Day? I mean, that's a pretty expensive gift for Valentine's Day. What do you get for your birthday, right?" So, so she said, "Yeah, he bought me that and his fur coat." Now, mind you, this is Virginia Beach in February, so it's still 60 something degrees outside, and she's 65 degrees outside. She had a huge fur coat on. Sorry, and So I asked her what her husband did, and she said he was a real estate investor, and he actually owned the building that we were in. And this was a large commercial office building. Like this is a really grade A building. Like this wasn't like a warehouse in a beat down neighborhood. So from that point, I just was telling everybody about the story about everybody in my office, about the lady with the Bentley and the fur. And a friend of mine, a coworker, he says, yeah, I know her husband, and I know her son. And they told me the story about how they were immigrants and from another country. He worked, 2 jobs and got his law degree. And a real estate developer wanted to buy his development, and he would not sell his unit until the real estate developer taught him how to invest in real estate. And now he's one of the biggest real estate developers in Virginia, and definitely one of the top 3 in Virginia Beach, and on one of the top real estate law firms in Virginia Beach as well. So I said, well, if it was good enough for him to come from, wherever they was from to do it, it was good enough for me, and from that day forward, I just set forth as real estate as my career and my career goal. So that's how I got into it. I just set forward and started to learn everything that I could about real estate investing and development from that point.
Very cool, man. That was an awesome story. So when you got started, a lot of people get started different ways. I think you started wholesaling. Is that correct?
Yes.
So can you kind of talk us through how you went from, I guess we could just continue the story. So how you went from seeing that you wanted to get involved in real estate, where did you go from there?
Oh, from there, I was at this point, this was the start of the come out to this hotel on a Saturday, and we'll teach you how to buy houses, no cash out of pocket and stuff like that era. And I thought that was interesting, but so I started to go to like 3 or 4 of them. I mean, I was going to them pretty much every weekend for like a month and a half, or every other weekend for like a month and a half. And I started to learn a lot about that aspect. And a group of friends of mine, some from the military and some from church, we wanted to get together. They wanted to get together and form a real estate investment company. It was called JJMK Investing. And I learned wholesaling first, but my first couple deals was in flipping. And, once again, this was 2006 in the height of the bubble, and we were buying up everything in Newport News. It turned out to be a good relationship until it went bad. And from that, the one thing that I can say that I realized from that is that when that relationship went bad and we dissolved that company, I was exposed at the time, because one thing I did not focus on was the money that we were making. I never took that money and fixed my credit. So I was very exposed because I was on my own. And then when I went back and wanted to do more, and, flipping and getting loans and stuff like that, I was denied all over the place. So I had to learn another strategy and another technique, which was the wholesaling. And that's been my niche since then, for the past, 12 years or so. Wholesaling has been great to me. Wholesaling has been, my foundation in real estate. Everybody has their foundation or their real estate DNA is what I call it. And it's just been good to me. It gave me a platform to really understand how to find good deals. Yeah. Not everybody has that ability.
Yep. I think it's very cool, because I'm really big on the power of quote broke. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have any money. It can mean that you don't have the credit. And so that's never an excuse to do nothing. It's like you have to be strategic, and you have to use your mind to find that workaround. And then when you find that workaround, you master that workaround. And you did that by getting into the industry as a wholesaler, which is dope. Wholesaling is like the foundation, and it's so hard to be an investor and not have the skill of wholesaling, because at the end of the day, either you're an investor or you have to find a deal. If you're a wholesaler, you have to find a deal. So it's like, would you rather be dependent upon somebody else bringing you the deal, or you want to be the person that can bring that deal?
Right. And I think that, and that's why the position of a wholesaler has always been a valuable one. People can talk all the stuff that they want about, oh, you on the low end of the totem pole and all this, that, there, but technically you need us. You need us. If you want to find that good off-market deal, then you need us, So I always took a liking to that position. And one thing I noticed is that it always been not only lucrative, but an easier form to do to make money, because you're pretty much selling the one thing that thousands of people want.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling. To have a deal that has and our numbers are a little different in Philly, but to have let's say a $50,000 spread on a deal. People, look for these deals every day, and you're the one holding 3 or 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you may be on the entry level of what's called real estate investing, but at the same time, that's a very, very, very valuable position to kind of be in, because if you are able to supply people with the deals that they want and the yields that they want, I mean, you will always have a position in this business. So.
Yep. I was talking to, I guess one thing I'll say is that I found out how valuable a wholesaler was when I bought a property and I saw this dude made $5,000 to do nothing. And I was like, right. we're gonna hold this property and cash flow it for a year before we get to $1,000. And yeah, we'll get that, or get 5,000. Yeah, we'll get that every single year on year. But by then that wholesaler's done 10 more deals. He's made $50 more thousand. So wholesaling, in my opinion, should never be looked down upon. It's a super valuable skill. Right. It's hard work. It's not easy at all.
It's not easy at all. And it's funny, I'm glad that you made that example, because it's funny, when I first got into this business, when I first started wholesaling, a friend of mine, actually one of my fraternity brothers up here in Philadelphia, he's a little bit older than me. He's a little bit more mature. So he had a bunch of rentals as well. He had about 3 or 4 at the time. Now he probably has, I would say, about 60 or 70 now. But and we had that exact same conversation. When you went through all that, and at the end of the month, at the time you made under $1,000. When I made $10,000 off of 2 deals. Mm-hmm. And once again, he was a lot more older than me and more mature. So, of course, I was blowing my money in Virginia Beach. We had cars and, at the club with bottle service and everything. At the time, I was, 21, 22 years old at the time, So, but at the end of the day, now the roles have kind of reversed now. Now, see the value of what he was doing, but yet and still, he still needed me, because guess what? When he wanted deals, guess what he came from? Yeah. Guess what he came to, right? So it's like you said, it's definitely a valuable trait to have. And that's 90% of all levels of real estate now. For you to learn the skill, how to negotiate and bring people to you that have a property issue with a property, it's just valuable, and on all levels. Right now, we're looking into, getting into more of the new construction and hospitality, larger commercial, development stuff. It's the same game. Yep. It's the same game. You could be sitting around with $1 million in your pocket, but if you can't find a deal, then what's the point? Right? And what's the point? I mean, you might as well go buy stocks,
Yep.
But deals is totally different. It's totally different when when you talk real estate.
So as a wholesaler, what are you doing to market and find deals? Well, I'll ask this question. When you first started out, how did your marketing look?
Oh boy. First starting out, back in Newport News, Virginia, basically I was walking the neighborhoods. I was pretty much walking the neighborhoods and asking people. I'm in my first wholesale deal. We were shutting down MKE, And I knew so many people in the neighborhood because we were doing so many construction projects out there. And we actually were, I was walking the neighborhood and I bumped into a neighbor and I was talking to him about it. He said, yeah, I got a house I want to sell. And, we wound up putting it under contract and I sold it within like 2 weeks. Now, mind you, the guy I sold it to, I didn't know anything that was going on or what he was doing with the contract, but I remember him meeting me on Mercury Boulevard, and he didn't even stop. Like, I didn't go to the settlement or anything. Like, he literally just pulled over, handed me a check, and left. And I remember the check was for like $6,500, and it was like the most money that I had seen in like months because, once again, my main source of income was gone. I had left doing financial planning, by this point. And so that's when I kind of got the idea of, hey, man, we need to really just make ourselves known in these neighborhoods. And that's what I did. So I walked around for a while. When I did, I just knocked on doors and asked people where they want to sell. Now, there was a point in my life that, after I left Virginia, when I came back up to Philadelphia, I started to get a little bit more, how can I say that? I started to get a little more creative about how we look for deals. So what we started to do was we did everything from bandit signs. We did bandit signs. We did door hangers. We did postcards and different measures like that to kind of bring in deals. But the best and most effective thing that we got as far as bringing in deals were evaluating the pretty home and ugly homes in neighborhoods and on blocks as the biggest way. And what we do with that is we'll walk a neighborhood. When I moved back to Philadelphia, I just used to walk my neighborhood, which was probably a couple miles long. And I used to just write down every home that I thought was ugly, was boarded up, abandoned. I look for the window dressings to be messed up. I look for mail to be in a mailbox. I look for kept grass and things of that sort. And I would just look the owner up and I would just write him a letter or give him a call. I mean, of course, this was back when, we had a little thing called the white pages. So you were able to kind of look people up, in the white pages, or we would do like a skip trace search on them. And I would just call them up and make them an offer. Yeah. That's the most direct approach to kind of get stuff done, Absolutely. And it worked. It worked.
So when you're making an offer, how do you determine what price to offer?
We use we typically offer anywhere between 60 to 65% of the after repair value on a property. Mm-hmm. So if a property is $100,000, the after repair value is $100,000, we can offer you $60,000 or $65,000 minus the repair cost. So if you got $40,000 to repairs, then we somewhere around $20,000 for a property. That's been a staple in how we do business. Whether it's something that we're looking to keep or whether it's something that we're looking to wholesale. And the reason why we chose, or we do operate at 60 or 65%, is because, if we're wholesaling the property and we're giving it to an investor, you always want to make sure that you're giving that investor enough space in the deal so that he can make a profit as well. Nobody wants, you don't want to be out here shopping deals that investors can't make money. Yep. So that was a big thing for us to make sure that our investors are taken care of as well. So we used the 65% of the after repair value less the closing costs. I mean the repair costs.
Repair costs. Man, so I have two questions that kind of stem off of that. I'll ask them at the same time so I don't forget them. The first question is, how do you determine the after repair value? The second question is, what is that conversation like when you give somebody an offer like that? Because, the average person is thinking, oh, well, you come in and if the after repair value is $100,000 and you tell somebody you want to give them 30 to 40, Aren't they going to be insulted? Aren't they going to be offended? How do you work around that?
I think the first question was evaluating and the after repair value. The after repair value, and this going to kind of cover both. We find the after repair value based off of comps that have sold in the area. Mm-hmm. So, we pull up Trend or public records and we see, okay, houses that have been repaired in top-notch shape in this area have sold for $100,000. That's what houses go for in this area. Let's just say new kitchen, new bath, hardwood floors, carpet upstairs. Just a good, in Philadelphia, that's a standard North Philly house, right? So, but everything's been redone. They sold for $100,000. Now, when you go into that house, right, obviously that house doesn't have none of this. Obviously they don't have it, right? So this house is a house that you went into that may have been very dated. So it has an older kitchen, older bathroom, things of that sort. So you have to know if you want to flip that house, or if you're investors, if you are a wholesaler and you want to get that house, and your investor is going to flip that house to make that into what that $100,000 house is, you have to be somewhere around 60%, minus the repairs, So to answer the first question is comparables. And what we do is, to slide into your second question, is that we can show them their repairs. I mean, these people aren't stupid. Like they've been living in this house for 30, 10, 15 years. Your bathroom sucks. I mean, really, that this bathroom is dated. That you inherited this house from your grandmother. Your grandmother ain't do nothing in this house for 60 years. You know that your house isn't comparable to that. So, yes, has there been houses selling in your neighborhood for $100,000? But they don't look like this one. And one of the things that I always use to people is say, I'm in the market for a Cadillac, for an Escalade, 2018, right? So you got a 2004. I can't pay you the same amount as I'm gonna pay for a 2018 for a 2004. It just don't make no sense, right? It's the same deal. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how we evaluate the deal. Now, talking to them, the one thing that I always felt that works for us in talking to potential home sellers is that you have to educate them. You have to educate them, especially if your numbers is off. A lot of times people just know that their house isn't worth the $100,000, and they may be a little high. So maybe they're somewhere around 35, but you need to get it for 20. Hey, look, this is what I have to do to the property. I have to put in $40,000 into this property to get this house up and running. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the comparable properties now, just like there's after repair value comps, there should be what we call as-is value comps, mm-hmm. right? So these are other houses that have sold in that neighborhood at the condition that their house is at. Mm-hmm. So if you can, the best thing to do is have those comps with you to kind of say, hey, look at this comp. This house sold up the street from yours for $30,000. But that was a 4-bedroom. Yours is a 3. Or that this house down the street is a little bit is a shell compared to yours, and that one sold for 15. So your house kind of falls in the middle of that. So we kind of use that method to kind of show them and educate them as to where they should be at, which is absolutely the best way to kind of break down those walls and have them be more susceptible to what that offer is, and then also educate them on the process and how quick you can close on this property at that price. Because if they go another route, you may get $3,000 or $4,000 more, but you might have to wait 6 months. So what's your plan there? You're going to lose more holding costs than you are in holding the property than you are on the property. You might sell it today for this price, mm-hmm. and you're going to wait 6 months and spend $2,000-$3,000.
So you kind of have to know your talking points. Also, you have to know, because there's this book I just recently read, Finding and Funding Great Deals, and basically what he was mm-hmm. saying is the more you do things, the more you learn what works to motivate sellers to get you that property. So in the beginning, you're kind of fumbling over yourself. And at the end, you're like, I know I got to tell them this. I know I got to tell them this. I know I got to tell them this. It's like you have a process. It's like a checklist. And it's like, if you've covered all those bases, usually they'll realize that it's more beneficial for them to sell you the property than for them to do anything else.
Right. And I think that's the best part about what you're doing is that you have the answer to their issues. They have an issue. You know what I mean? And then, and the way our business is set up as far as how we generate leads and stuff, hey, you called me.
Yeah.
You called me in here to fix your issue. And the way I do business is I always stay behind the 8 ball as far as any conversation. And that's one of my things. Hey, look, I'm out here. You was referring to me. This is your option. That's my main script when I go to talk to people about their house. This is my script. Thank you for showing me the house, and I'm gonna just go over some key points. Thank you for showing me the house. The house does need some repairs. I took pictures, so let me evaluate what the repair cost is going to be on the properties. With that, I can give you a couple different options. Option 1, I'm gonna give you my offer on the property as if we were to buy the house for cash right from up under you now. That offer, the benefits of that offer is that it is a quick closing. You know, we can typically close this within 2 weeks, so as the title comes back. You know, the second option, option B, is that if we don't agree to a price and you want a little bit more money for the property, hey, you know, we have a database of over 7,000 investors that come to us every week for properties. I said, let me send it out to my clients and see if one of them is willing to match what you're looking for the property. Mm-hmm. If that happens, good. I won't charge you a dime. I will never ask you for any money. Whatever, you know, a couple dollars I get it from them. Mm-hmm. Does that sound good? They say, sure, that sounds great. The third option, and in some cases, I may do some research on the property and may find that it's more beneficial for you to put the house on the market because you may get more money for the property. To put it on the market. And they typically say, well, how's that? Because you got to pay realtor commissions. Da, da, da. I say, yeah, but if you can get, you know, out of this property, if you can get, you know, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more dollars, and you can cover all your closing costs and realtor commission and still net more money, then what's the issue? I said, you know, you're going to get more money, but the downside of that is that there's no, I can't give you a promise on when you will close.
Yeah.
So that option is good for people who are not, in a real big hurry to close, or they have a really nice house. But that's sometimes we get a lot of people with a really nice house that we have issues, and they just want to sell for whatever reason. And that's why we actually started Royal Realty Group at that time, because we wanted a way to kind of help out those individuals as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that for a lot of different reasons. I like that you've effectively created a solution to their problems of which you benefit from each solution. And then I also like that you effectively created a company that solves a need that you didn't really know existed until you started doing business. And a lot of times your business evolves and grows as you're out there working the business, because then you realize all these people, they're either going to wholesale it to us or they want to list it themselves, and we need to be the solution to each one of those problems. We don't want to let business slip through our fingers. We don't want to let opportunities and leads slip through our fingers. So I think that's very, very cool.
Right. And that's why we also have a construction company as well. And that, you know, sometimes that leans a lot towards, you know, repairs and stuff like that. When we're giving them the estimate of repairs, like, I'm just not some Joe Schmo off the street. Mm-hmm. Like, I've done this hundreds of times. I know what it's going to cost to get this house back up and running. I am a licensed contractor as well. I may not look it, you know, in this suit at the time. You know, I'm not in here with messed up boots and jeans and Carhartt jacket, but I'm a licensed contractor. So, you know, we can't go, you know, back to back on repair costs, because I mean, I know that as well. So, but that helps. And like I said, that's kind of how my real estate business is kind of formed around what we were dealing with in the streets. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And now what we're kind of getting is we're getting more investors that more established and investors and partners that maybe don't want to get into the grind of doing a flip or a wholesale deal, but they may have 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 to invest. So now we're getting kind of more into that market where we're like, okay, well, if you got 50 grand, you know, I'll take it, put it in the property, and I'll pay you a percentage on it, you know. So now that part of the business is growing as well, you know. So we're always growing and always evolving, you know.
Dope. So what are some mistakes that you made in the beginning while you're getting going?
Oh boy, I can go on and on about that. You know, one thing I always tell people, I can't tell you every dollar I made in this business, but I always can tell you every dollar I lost. From two different aspects of the business. One was funny. I was just looking at the paperwork for that deal today. In 2012, I had a client who was selling a package deal of properties here in Philadelphia. It's like 15 properties. It was kind of, you know, it was a smaller package. And the guy that he was working with was another wholesaler who came to me since he was part of the deal, and he owed him a favor or something. And the younger guy, let's say his name is Jared. Jared says, you know, Mike, can you help us sell this package? Because I just sold another package of like 32 properties a couple months before that. So the guy, Jared, says, you know, can you help me sell this property? I sold the package in like, you know, a couple weeks. And they always say don't put the buyer and seller in the room, in the same room. And we were going back and forth. And me and the guy, Jared, we don't, as a wholesaler, you know, when you're dealing with especially a package deal, there's so many intricate things about that deal that we just didn't have nothing to do with. And we were just in the way of the negotiations, really. But I knew at the time we did not have a secure position in the deal because we didn't have any type of contracts at the time. And this is the point of this. We didn't have any contracts. The guy, we were kind of slowing the deal down because really, if the seller wanted something, we would tell Jared, Jared would tell me, I would tell a buyer, and it went back and forth for like 2 months. So Jared, I remember this. Jared was like, I need this deal to go faster. I'm actually having a baby. I need this money to take care of my family. And, you know, I got to get out of the place that I need to, you know, that I'm at. I need this money like fast. You know, can we just have them talk and we can kind of like step back? And I said, Jared, if we put these people in the same room together, it is a wrap for us. I said, this deal is done. I said, it's done. I said, I guarantee you. I said, I don't feel comfortable doing that until I get some type of agreement. And somehow the agreement was typed up, but it was never signed. And somehow they started talking. The buyer and the seller started talking. I actually think Jared went around me to get them to talking. But they actually kept us abreast for about a week or so. Mm-hmm. I'd say about 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, stuff went quiet. Next thing you know, the properties changed hands. They sold. Me, Jared, didn't get a dime. Didn't get a dime. So, and that was like a 50. We were both supposed to get like 50 grand. It was like $100,000 fee. We was going to split it 50-50. And, you know, so that was a huge loss at the time. It's a huge loss at the time for both of us. And the reason why that story is so fresh is because literally I was cleaning out my email and I seen the agreement. I seen the agreement today, and I was like, oh.
So wow. Did you guys just like leave it alone, or you didn't go after them for anything?
Well, what happened was, I don't know. I think a couple months had went by, and we couldn't get in contact with anybody, and then I just kind of like left it alone. Mm-hmm. And I didn't talk to Jared again for a while because I figured I just knew what happened. And one day I talked to Jared, And he said he couldn't get in contact with him either, but it was another guy who was in on the deal, who was kind of working for the buyer. And I did get in contact with him, and he pretty much told me, yeah, the deal closed. So what?
Wow.
Like, he just, he was just like, what you gonna do? And at the time, once again, young and dumb, we could have probably sued them, but you got to figure, in this world, like, we didn't have lawyers. Like, these guys are multimillionaires. Like, it's us, it's two black guys from the hood going up against these multimillionaires in a business that most attorneys don't understand anyway. Most attorneys or most lawyers. Yeah. So, I mean, we had no legal right. I mean, they literally would have crushed us in court. Mm-hmm. They would have crushed us in court. So
I think that one of the things that I always tell people on this show, and every guest that's been on this show has been able to say, like, their mistakes become their urgency or their systems. So it's like you make a big mistake once, and then you just know, like, you'll never, ever do a deal without a contract. You know that you'll never do a deal that way again. So it's like, on one hand, yeah, it sucked. It was an expensive education, but it was still an education. And so it's like a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll never do a deal because they're afraid of losing that $50,000 contract. And they don't realize, like, I'm sure you've made your money back on that loss, and probably more by the structure and the systems that you put in place because of that loss you took.
Right. It's just, and I tell people about that all the time. You in business, being in business, you are definitely going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have wins. You're going to have losses, like you said. And the one thing about being in a wholesaler is that 9 times out of 10, you don't have no skin in the game anyway, right? All you did was send a couple emails, made a couple phone calls. If you're tracking your time, you probably work 2 hours on this thing, So, but I definitely have it from that point. Never ever did that again. Yeah. And like work without a contract for anything. I mean, and the next thing is, like, even in construction, before I was a contractor, coming in, getting started and getting in the game, one thing I always tell people is never give a contractor all your money. And this is the stupidest thing that people do in this business. After they, they're going to do a flip, like, some contractors will be like, well, I want half up front. Really? Really, bro? Like, you want me to give, this is a $50,000 job. You really expect me to give you half of this money up front? Why? This is a 6-week job. Like, why do you need all the money up front? It's that's one thing that I had to learn, and I learned the hard way. I lost money doing that, and because you get contractors and then they disappear. Yeah. Then what?
But I think what's important is that when you've had that experience of losing money, then you have the confidence to stand on your decision. So like, they'll try to shake you like, oh, well, that's just how we do things. Like, well, no, that's not how we do things. I've experienced it and it went wrong this way. So if you want the job, we can do it this way. But it's like they'll take advantage of your naivety if you haven't made those mistakes. And so it's like, it's important to get out there and make those mistakes, because that's it's like Kiyosaki says, it's like, in school, you were taught to not make mistakes, but as an entrepreneur, it's your job to make mistakes. Right. And yes, it's your job to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. Like right now, true life story, like we are starting a chain of daycares. Wow. In Philadelphia, a very lucrative business here. And there have been some mistakes made. And our contracts and, crazy thing about it in the lease, which, don't hurt us right now, but, just going through the system. And I always tell people, every day that you're making progression, in the business that you're trying to do, or the business you're trying to buy, or that you're working in, it's a learning experience. And you definitely want to take that learning experience and grow. You can't get frustrated with, not knowing something. That's something that I deal with a lot of agents about. A lot of my new agents, they just get so frustrated because they don't know something, and they just like, oh my God, I don't. Well, you're going to know. You're definitely going to know
Just take your time, and we're going to work through it together and just use that as a learning experience. And that's why, as you hit it right on the head, that's why a lot of people don't continue to do their next deal, their second deal, their third deal, and they be out of the business because they don't know how to take those wins and those losses and keep your head up and keep going.
Very cool. So I have to end this episode short. We had a great conversation about wholesaling. It'll be very cool to get you on maybe in a few more episodes or so to kind of finish what I wanted to talk about. But can you let people know where they can find out more about you, your company, and everything you have going on?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. You can always get in contact with us on our website, www.royalrealtygroup215.com. That's the best place to get in contact with us. And then also our social media, Royal Realty Group on Instagram, and even my personal page, real estate _Newt. So yeah, I'm definitely always available for conversations and advice as well.
Last question is, what does wealth mean to you?
Freedom. Wealth means freedom to me. One thing that I realized when I was a kid, I always wanted to do my visions and thoughts about how I want my life to be was always limited by not having. And now I know that the vehicle mechanism to get to freedom and get the things that I want in life comes with wealth.
Yeah.
And so that's why we work so hard. I'm not a greedy person. I'm definitely not a greedy person, but I got these visions in my head and the lifestyle that I want to have for my family. So if we have to do what we got to do to attain this wealth, to attain this freedom.
Absolutely. Very cool. So this has been episode number 53. We're doing some great things, guys. Hit us up at capitaltodd.com for more information there. We have, of course, have the investment club, 185 members. The goal is 500. We're just trying to make everybody win. So I appreciate you all for tuning in. This has been episode number 53. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, signing off. Cool.